Welcome to today's executive lecture series, the Halliday Lecture Series. And today's executive is from the field of marketing. And one thing I wanted to mention about marketing is if you are a business that sells to other business, you engage in what's called industrial marketing. And so it's important to maintain your customers and to get new customers. But if your products are sold to consumers in mass quantities, we call this consumer marketing, then marketing is vital for your business. And our speaker today is in the field of marketing and brand management. Jason Bangerter is co-founder and chairman of Struck Axiom, a 65-person creative agency with offices in Los Angeles, Portland, and Salt Lake City. Jason entered the creative industry in 1987 and earned a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in graphic design at BYU. Before that, he was a graduate with an associate's degree from Utah Valley Community College at the time, so he's an alumnus of our institution. He grew then what started out as a personal freelance design business into Struck Axiom. His major clients include Adidas, Deer Valley Resort, Discovery Channel, DreamWorks, Lego, MGM, Mrs. Fields Cookies, Nintendo, PepsiCo, Quaker, TCBY, Universal Pictures, Warner Brothers, Zango, and the state of Utah. Please join me in welcoming Jason Bangerter.
I want to talk a little bit about business and the reasons why we get into business. So, why do I do what I do? And, I was thinking about that question, and something came to mind. I thought of, there's a book out right now. It's, I'm not going to say the title, but it's kind of like this, Crap My Dad Says. And my dad would always tell me interesting things. Anyone have any interesting dads around here? Say some funny stuff? Yeah? What does your dad say? You in the computer right there.
Friends come and go, but enemies accumulate.
Friends come and go and enemies accumulate. My dad always said, you mess with a bull, you get the horns. That was one of his favorites. He had all these funny sayings, and I watched other dads, and they're maybe a little bit more loving. My dad was all about tough love. And anyway, maybe he saw that I was this little guy, and I had to have this kind of tough love. And anyway, he said he did things that really intrigued me. He was in the Navy, and he was a dental technician on an aircraft carrier. Afterwards, he became a builder, and I'm like, Dad, why did you become a builder? What inspired you to become a builder and not become a dentist? And he said, Jason, if I'm a dentist, I can only work on one mouth at a time. If I'm a builder, I can build 300 houses at once. I'm like, gotcha. So I started filing these things and these ideas. And anyway, later on, I started thinking about what that means. And I came to this kind of line. And on one side, there's hype. And what hype is someone that goes out and says, I can do anything, and they really can't. And they might say, I can go and sell. Tomorrow I'm going to have a $3 billion client. The reality is they're not going to have a $3 billion client. You know those types? On the other end of the scale, there's a sellout. What sellout is someone who knows they can do something and then tells someone they sell themselves short and say, I'm not quite, or yeah, I'm gonna. This is the goal, but I'm gonna get here. So when I tell them I'm here, I'm gonna under-promise and over-deliver. You guys ever hear that? Well, who wants to live on this scale? For me, in watching my dad, he never lived on this scale. He was never hype, and he was never a sellout. And I watched that as a kid because he always worked for himself. And he fell in this category, courage. And what was interesting about watching him and seeing what he did, there was a lot of, the economy hasn't always been steady, and there's a lot of opportunity. And he saw it, he just went for it. And I saw that. And that's what started formulating in here. I realized to be courageous meant to doing more and more and better and better. So that's pretty courageous. That's my mustache May picture. Every year at the studio, everyone grows out a mustache, and well, that was my entry this year. So I won. It was a really interesting social experiment too. I got a lot of looks, and then when I'd stare back at them like this, people like kept on driving or shut up. It was really funny. I'm still the same dude, so. Here's another thing I started reading and thinking about. How do I knew I wanted to start a business, and at first I wasn't sure how I could get up in that courage section. I wasn't hype and I wasn't sellout, but I didn't have that courage to kind of get up there. And then I read a book called Cashflow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. Awesome book. And he draws this diagram. And he puts an E up here in this first category. And he calls that employee. About 80% of Americans fall into this category. Anyone here an employee? I mean, it's awesome. You get all that security. You never have to worry about your paycheck. It just comes. You might get some benefits. Geez, you get time off. That was cool. And then one day when I was working for my, 10th company, it was Novell. It was Christmas time. And we had our Christmas party, and our VP got up in front of 77 engineers and management and got up and said, I got some interesting news. You're all getting laid off. The good news is you're getting laid off in March. And so so everyone was like, oh, well, that sucks, but hey, I guess we'll go mess around for the next couple months, update our resumes, play Command and Conquer at the time. So there's a lot of that going on. At that point, I realized, wow, being an employee is not always what it's cracked up to be. And if I'm an employee, what is next? And what's next is this other category. It's called self-employed. And there's a lot of people that become self-employed, and they see this goal, this opportunity to be self-employed and to kind of run their own life. A lot of people call it a lifestyle business, and that means that you're working really hard and it's just you, so you're not going on vacation. You're picking up the phone 24 hours a day, and you are customer service, you're HR, you're everything. And I stayed in that category for about 7 years. The funny part is my dad, who always had like business and had grown, had kind of imploded back to self-employed. And I watched that. I was like, oh, maybe this is okay. But I started working. My clients never went away. I'd get a client, and then it'd grow and grow. And pretty soon, I was literally working 20 hours a day, plus somehow fitting in school. So I was up 20 hours, period, and I had 4 hours of sleep every day between working with all my clients and finishing out my BFA. I didn't really like that category because I just worked to death, and it wasn't exactly what I was after. What I really knew I was after is the business category. And that's when you get employees and you leverage their time. Kind of like that. I finally got to that point where I was like, oh, wow, Dad's right, you know. Even though he said, you know, mess with the bull, you get the horns, he also had that good knowledge where I can leverage other people's time and actually get paid more, because I now have, instead of 8 hours a day, or 20 at the time, I've got double that, triple that, 65 times that. It's an awesome feeling to be down here and have a whole army of people working in my office. And I don't have to worry about it. It's great. However, there's one better category, and that's the I. I is investment. And that's when you can take all that money that you earn and turn around and put that money to work for you. So your money becomes your employee. So if you've got money now working for you, you don't have the problems of someone, whining about their job or, some of the other employee crap that you get to deal with. But there's good parts of employees, but there's also bad parts. And so this really inspired me. This gave me that courage. And by realizing there's a path to where I wanted to go, I realized I could start down that path. So I moved out of that employee category at Novell. And when all those people went to all their jobs, guess what? They needed graphic design, which is what I did. So I started working with all those individual people. And as I worked with them, I was able to get more and more income coming in. It was the perfect scenario. I loved being laid off. I didn't at first, but after that, I loved it because I got all these new clients. And those clients really sustained me through the first part and really started me down that path. So I want to talk a little, that's kind of why I did what I wanted to do. But now it's struck axiom when I have to inspire my whole company to do and to be. Why do we do what we do as a company? And there's this interesting TED Talk. I've got the guy's name in it. It's Simon, I can't remember his last name. But anyway, he talks about the what, how, and why circles. And a lot of people say, this is what I do. This is what I'm creating marketing materials, or I'm creating a website. This is what I do. And then some other people go around and they say, this is how I do it. I actually go in and write the code, or I create a iPhone app, or whatever it is. But the real core of that is, why do we do the things we do? And for me, it was about leveraging other people's time and talent, so I would have a solid income, so I could move into those other categories. That's for my personal reason why I did what I did. And it also, there was another why, and I just like to do really, really good work. And that is how I work with my teams. So people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. If you, back when, I don't know, a few years ago, I'd never see Apple logos out there, and I see a ton. That means a lot of people are kind of turning to that religion, not the PC religion. It's really interesting because Apple's got a really solid belief in why, and people get that. They just build awesome products, and people inherently get that. I don't think about how awesome it is to go buy a Dell or something. That's just not me. But they don't have maybe the same core audience and the same evangelists that are going out and pushing, because they haven't found their why. They talk about how they do it or what they do. They build custom computers. I'm talking about Dell. But Apple, why they do it is because they build cool stuff. So the goal is not to do business with everyone. The goal is not to do business with everyone who wants what you have. And there's his name, Simon Sinek. The goal is to do business with people who believe in what you believe. So lining up those core beliefs. So what does that mean as a creative? I didn't want to necessarily do business with someone who doesn't understand or believe that I'm going to do the best work possible. I only want to work with clients and with people who are going to appreciate what it is I do. And that could be said for anything that you are going to be doing in the future, whether it's accounting or banking, I don't know, entrepreneurialism, my favorite. Whatever you do, you have to believe in yourself first, and those clients will align to what it is you believe because they see it, they get it. So this starts down my path of thinking, how do I push this company that I'm creating? So Struck Axiom is a creative agency working to make brands greater than they are. That sounds like a really cool mission statement. Well, let's shorten it a bit. Be greater than. And that's what I'm all about. For a long time, it's hard to figure out and to really hone it down. But the reality is, I want to be greater than. And I want to inspire those who work for me to be greater than. And I want those who work for me to also take on that mantra of be greater than and inspire all those around us. And we're going to work with the clients who get that. We're not going to work with the clients who don't. And so that's what we do at Struck Axiom, and that's what I push for. We actually opened another office. Geez, it was only like 10 minutes ago we had 3 offices. Now we got 1 in New York. But that's a little synopsis of where we're at. Here's a few of our clients. We got more. I just threw up some of them. I'm going to show a quick video of the work that we do.
Shepherd of your dreams.
It's hard being a man, living in a garbage pail. My landlord called me up. He tried to hit me with a bar. Oh, I can't stand it anymore, more. I can't stand it anymore, more. Oh, I can't stand it anymore, more. But Randy would just come back, it would be alright. Randy would just come back, it'll be alright. Come back. I can't stand it anymore, more. I can't stand it anymore, more. I can't stand it anymore, more. Randy would just come back, it'll be alright.
This is so cute. Aren't these cute? The snack
super
of the day.
cute.
It's old school gourmet saltwater taffy from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Ask me anything. I'm not shy.
So that's a little bit of our work. This is one of our clients. It's the Utah Office of Tourism. And for those of us who live in the state, we don't get to see a lot of this because the legislature has said, we would love for you to attract tourism. Now think about it. If we advertise here and create stuff for us to look at and be cool, well, we're not really coming into the state. So we had to come up with a strategy to get people outside of the state in. It was interesting. One of the first things we discovered, we did some case studies, and we found out that the mountains up there, you know, that actually is in Arizona. But, you know, like that's Monument Valley. But they're right on the border. Anyway, like the Arches and some of our Red Rock country, everyone thought, the study came out and said everyone thinks that's in Arizona. And then they saw our beautiful mountains and they thought, oh, wow, those mountains, they must be Colorado. And wow, Utah, there's just weirdos there. And so our goal was to actually take the assets that we have here in the state and help others outside of the state recognize that everything here is here. And there's some amazing tourist attractions here. What does that do for us? Well, it indirectly helps you because you're a state-funded school. Because for every dollar spent, And we track this really carefully for all you accountants out there. For every dollar spent, $14 is earned in bedroom tax. That's a pretty good return on investment, I'd say. And so, so before this we had that problem. After this, people now recognize that Utah is all about life elevated. It's all about outdoors. It's all about things to do. And anyway, some of those things are TV spots, web. We got widgets. We have an iPhone app. We're going to be running a commercial. I'll give you a little sneak peek of what it is. It's coming up this spring. It's right here.
Further than you'll ever know. Into the handkerchiefs.
A seamless vacation awaits you in Utah. To start planning your next trip, visit utah.travel today. Utah. Life elevated.
So that's the spot that will be coming out running nationally, and also some targeted markets like New York, LA, and Denver. It's kind of fun to run it in Denver. This is an iPhone app we just released. I didn't realize this because I'm a car guy, but I realized it the other day. I do have a truck, but it's an SUV. It's not a real truck. It's a fake truck, I guess. It is a Chevy, so I guess I'm on the right team. But you can download this and trash talk your truck friends. If you're a Chevy guy, you're in luck because you're the only one with an iPhone app that can trash talk your Ford friends and your Dodge friends. So we made this for a Chevy recently. This was a really, it looks simple, but it's a really complex project we did for Zions Bank. There's 16 monitors. They just released these from Samsung, so we were able to figure out how to put those together and have video drivers that drove the whole thing. And then we're bringing outside content from video to stock tickers to other information in. And this sits in the headquarters of Zions Bank downtown. But it was the first time we'd done a big installation like that, and I'm glad they trusted us to do that. But anyway, they've had some really good success with that. Let's talk about some other brands and marketing. We talked about, it was introduced, and we talked about strategy and marketing. And you don't always have to have a huge budget to move a product or an idea in a direction. As a matter of fact, you just have to think really strategically. Who is my audience? How am I going to affect them? What is their, how old are they, etc. This is a small street soccer company that we know the founders, and they said, hey, we really want a cool brand. Can you develop this brand for us? And we did. It started with a logo, moved into all the other brand elements, but it's for Calle Soccer. So Calle Street in Spanish, in case you didn't know. But one of the coolest parts I thought about this, because it's kind of an underground, kind of edgy movement, with their fashion, with their clothing, and they're more of a fashion brand and technical brand. We included a little circle on all the tags, and what's interesting is when you start looking for them, these little circles are everywhere. You see the little guy playing street soccer on the crosswalk sign. So I encourage a little civil disobedience, I guess, but it's all in good fun. This project we just finished up this summer for Gatorade, and this is called Gatorade Mission Control. And in Mission Control, what they wanted to do was listen to their whole audience. And how do you do that? Well, you can do it with like a tweet deck or Twitter follow or following Facebook. But the problem is, how do you know who's an influencer? I don't know. I have like 140 friends, so I don't have too many friends. But I guarantee you, some of you guys have thousands and thousands of friends. So how do I get to you as the consumer with 10,000 followers that might be talking positive or negative about Gatorade? Well, you make you aggregate all that data and you pull it in, and then you display it visually, and that's exactly what we did. So each one of these spheres represent a person that just sent out a tweet about Gatorade. And the one that's got the line around it, that blue one, is at the time, because it's always live, it's always moving forward, and they're watching you right now, just so you know, if anyone wants to tweet Gatorade. They pick up on it, and they follow, or they see what exactly it is you're tweeting about. Now, if you're a big influencer, they're going to really pay attention. Hopefully it's positive, maybe it's negative. I hate that new flavor. I love that new flavor, whatever. They'll know, and they respond accordingly. In addition to that, they can see if people are retweeting something, what their reach is, what their spread, positive, negative. It's a really cool tool that we developed. This is actually a touch screen, so that's the other neat part. You can move stuff around. It was built it wasn't built in Flash. It was actually built in a language called Unity, which is a 3D language used in gaming. One other thing I like about it is they follow each trend. So they take out 4 words out of all those tweets they aggregate, and they can follow all 4 words. So that's what we built for Gatorade. What does that mean for other things? Well, I like to be an entrepreneur, and I started thinking, how can I use this technology and spin this out? What can I do with this? How cool is it? I was watching NBC Nightly News, and they're talking about all the stuff going on in Egypt right now. And Brian Williams is like, we're just watching all the tweets, and he turned his computer around, and he was following on a tweet deck, and it just looked like a slot machine. All the tweets were just buzzing by. And no, they really couldn't follow. They just knew there was a lot of tweets going by. This allows us to follow real stories in blogs, etc. So what does that mean? How can I use this? Well, maybe I'll sell it to some politicians. See if they can follow what their audience is doing. Maybe I'll sell it to some companies that want to know what it is you're doing. The other cool part about Gatorade is, imagine they can watch their audience, but they can also follow their competitor's audience. Now that's effective, because at any given time, they can watch what Red Bull's doing and how their campaign's going, and strategize and come out with a different way of moving forward. This is a powerful tool. We're right in the process of spinning this out of Struck Axiom with its own company. Here's some other stuff that worked on. This is for Lego. It's called Lego Click, and it's a website that aggregates good ideas and what it is to be inspiring, what it is to be creative. We also made an iPhone app. It made it in the top 3 in the U.S., but it was big in Japan. It was #1. Plus, I like singing that song. Anyway, it's really fun. You can take pictures of people and turn them into Legos. So if you haven't downloaded it, go ahead. It's just Lego Photo on the iPhone store. Here's a little movie we did along with it.
I got it.
Oh, let me clarify. This is just part of the campaign. We didn't do this movie. It was another group, but it brings in the whole full circle of where the campaign is going. So inspiration. So anyway, that was Lego. I played Legos till I was like 14. Actually, I still play Legos. I got my daughter's Legos for Christmas. They're like, oh, Dad, thanks. We love these. Not really. This is a little project we did for the Grand America. And as part of that strategy, Grand America's built this beautiful hotel. But it hasn't really been this destination point for locals, because once you get there, it's like, what do you do in this hotel? What is it that, why am I going here? So we created reasons for going. And this is one in a series of redesigns in 9 spaces. So this used to be just a kind of a plain room with a freezer over in the corner and a display with some beautiful, beautiful pastries and cakes. And we took it to the next level. So this is an example of environmental design, when you take graphic design and kind of mesh it up with architecture. This is what the store looks like now. It's got gelato, really good treats. These are some packaging that we did for the store. This is a window display. They also wanted to create a new tradition at the Grand called Holidays at the Grand, where you can go and look at all the window displays. Inside there, there's kind of like a Where's Waldo game, where you can find objects. That's the whole store. Then we took a look at another brand, and that was TCBY. We found out they were the first brand, or first frozen yogurt company. And we know there's a lot of frozen yogurt companies out there right now. So how do they were kind of not exactly winning the war on frozen yogurt, even though they were the first. So this was a concept that we've actually built 2 stores now. And you can see this is a concept for this store. Here's a concept for like a mall or an airport. There's another concept. But these, I don't have any photos of the real store. You saw it actually in the video. But the store is outselling their other stores 5-1. Which, when you start to look at the reasons why people do things, they relate to good design and good strategy. They don't realize they're responding to those things necessarily, but that's exactly what they're doing. So let me show you some other stuff that we do. It's on the movie side. These are all logos that we've designed. You may be familiar with some of them. I'm really proud of the work that the team has done, and we brand movies. So DreamWorks come to us, or Sony Pictures, Universal. We sit down and we think, what is it that this movie's about, and how are we gonna brand the way it feels? Because obviously you're not going to go to a movie. Well, you might see Avatar where they put Papyrus as the logo, which is a horrible font. But you can see there's a lot of time that we took to look at branding these things. So here's an example of another movie we worked on, Kung Fu Panda. And branding isn't all about a logo. That is not your brand. Branding starts with a logo, but it goes in so many other ways. The colors, the layout, the typography we choose, the patterns that are involved. Those all help us identify with what a brand is. And you guys are familiar with brands, and you know it when you see a horrible brand, which we're used to seeing a lot of those. But a good brand really helps elevate a company. And if you can start off a company with a good, solid brand, you're going to speak to your audience. What we do is we create style guides once that brand is created, and then those style guides go out to vendors, and those vendors create products off of our brand that we developed. So here's an example of products that have been created from our brand. Maybe you're familiar with this. We worked with these guys for a long time, Matt Groening. This is an example of a brand refresh. Obviously, we didn't start our company in, I don't know, the 20s or whatever. Disneyland started. But we worked with them to refresh their brand and make it feel new. We worked with the Walt Disney family to do the Disney Family Museum. Another movie we worked on, this is just the logo, but there's a whole slew. The same exact treatment went throughout the project. little Dark Knight. This is an example of how, kind of the thought process behind brands. So what's next? How do I take, or for me anyway, how do I take this concept of doing really solid work and apply it to other things? I mentioned the Gatorade project. I'm working on a few new ventures that I'm inspired by the things that we do, and how am I going to move them and push them forward in an entrepreneurial manner? How does this greater than concept move forward in other businesses? It doesn't have to be just one thing. Something I learned kind of more recently, and that is when you start something and you inspire and you build, you may not be the one to complete it. So what does that mean? Well, for me, I love that incubation period. I love building something up to a particular point. However, I'm not really that day-to-day type of guy. A lot of entrepreneurs will build their company and then like stick with it, and they'll see this rise, and then they'll go down with the ship. For me, it was about hiring new management to take my ideas and inspire them to inspire other people. Still being part of it, but more in the background. So I've hired a CEO to run my company. His name's Dan Connor. I've got management in place to move this company forward. And for me, I'm about starting and building new endeavors. And it's taking this knowledge that I've learned here, all the way back, geez, my dad's going to roll, all the way back to what my dad taught me, to moving into a new direction and keeping that greater than consistency, that greater than movement into whatever is next. So that's what I'm about now, and that's what I'm doing moving forward. I'm still involved with this, but I've got day-to-day management that manages this thing, and it runs like a machine. It's awesome. We keep on getting newer and newer stuff. I can't tell you what we just got, but let's just say it's one of the coolest car companies out there. We're going to be doing a website and an iPhone app, and they might be from Germany. You can deduct from that. So there's newer and newer products and newer movies that are coming out, and that's exciting. And I can take that same knowledge that I know how this incubates and works and apply it to whatever I want. Robert Kiyosaki talks about knowing sales and marketing. And if you know those two things, it doesn't matter what you get into or what you're doing, you can do many things. So I'm going to open it up to questions for a few minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead.
All these projects look like they take forever. How do you manage all of this?
Wow, yeah, they do. Some of them do take forever. How do we manage it? We've got great producers. A producer is simply a project manager with a cooler title. And those producers make sure that internally we herd all the cats, because creatives are cats, and we get them going in the right direction. And we might have on any given time about 140 projects going through the studio. That's a lot of work. Anything down to a simple, we're redesigning the US speed skating brand right now, to, that's not simple I guess, to we just finished up a restaurant in Park City called Silver, all the way down to how the server delivers the menu. It's all part of a cohesive brand experience, and we just understand how that kind of works, and we know how long it takes to kind of do all those elements, so then we can give the client the right appropriate amount of time to get it done. But some of those projects take a little longer than others. Other questions? Go ahead.
So you have offices all over, well, not really all over, but like you have 4 offices. Do you have like certain projects that go to certain offices?
Yes. Yeah, we have certain projects that will go to certain offices. Our New York office is all about strategy. So they'll meet with the client and come up with a strategy and do some client services. The same thing with our LA office. They meet with all our Hollywood clients. Salt Lake is it's our biggest office, and Portland, Oregon is the next biggest office, and we're the ones that are actually doing most of the work. Someone had a question down here.
That was it.
Okay. Oh, she stole it from you. All right. Who else has a question? I got like 5 minutes. Go ahead.
What percentage of your clients come to you versus you going out
trying to sell?
Excellent question. What percentage of our clients come to us as opposed to what we go out in outbound sales? For a long time, we just picked up the phone. And then this awesome thing called the economy hit, and we realized that that's not always going to work. We weathered the storm. We didn't, well, I guess we got rid of a couple of people, but 2 people. But we didn't do mass layoffs when everyone else was just dumping people. We kept our team core small and agile, and we pushed forward in the right direction. So at this point, we have 4 outbound salespeople, so to speak. A lot of it is soft selling, going to our existing clients, talking about a new project, a new franchise, let's say, for a movie house, or it's meeting with a client in New York and coming up with a strategy behind what it is they're going to do. We do some startups. Another example would be like the Grand America. We started working with them on a smaller project, and it just exploded kind of overnight once we introduced this idea of a whole brand strategy behind what it is they're doing. So 4 people right now that are outbound, and we also field about half of the calls we field, and they're coming in. And we don't always accept all the work coming in. We're in that position where we don't have to get everything that comes in. So we're not doing flyers for real estate agents and other kind of weird things that are come at us. We politely decline. But we really like taking on new and smaller projects. We're not just about going after Pepsi or a large German car company. Any other questions? Go ahead.
What's your favorite project to this point that you've worked on?
Favorite project to this point. There's a lot of favorite projects. We just released, you saw a little clip of it in the reel, the 20th Century Fox logo. And they had a 75th year anniversary. And it was really exciting to take something that iconic that's been around for a long time. And how do you integrate 75 years? You know, initially you might think you write it underneath the logo and you're done. In papyrus, no less. But no, how do you integrate that? And we were able to come up, great designer, Lee Geil and Matt Maines worked on this project where they were able to figure out, as the spotlight searched, it actually it creates the numbers and the letters for 75 years as the movie camera moves up naturally. So it was a complete natural fit into what they already had. And that was real satisfying to work within really tight constraints, but able to build something iconic and something that just felt natural. I got time for 2 more questions. Go ahead.
Who are your main competitors and what do you do to stay ahead of them?
Who are my main competitors? We all have competitors, don't we? My main competitors are actually all over the world. There's not too many studios here that we really compete with because we do things maybe on a larger scale, but there's some good shops here in town. We compete sometimes locally, but most of the time it's with creative houses outside of the state. Ironically, we're all friends. I'll give you a quick story. One day we got a call 4 years ago from a guy in Miami. He's like, "Hey, let's meet together and over drinks in Miami." Now I don't drink, but everyone else did. So I said, "All right, well, let's go down," because he told me all the people that are going to be there. And my jaw kind of hit the floor because it was Big Spaceship, a major competitor, Otapod, major competitor, AgencyNet.com, big competitor, amongst some others, Blitz. Anyway, so we all met together, and we all realized that we're all kind of in the same boat doing this thing. And these CEOs shared really personal information about their company. What our profit margins were, how many employees we had, how we get new business. We left that kind of realizing there was a special bond in this thing, and we started thinking, let's do that again. So we formed a group called SODA, Society of Digital Agencies, and we've been friends ever since. Even though we go head-to-head with these guys on RFPs, we are constantly working together, even behind the scenes, to get standards, to help with education. Adobe sponsored the organization. It's really grown into this big thing. There are 10,000 groups that want to be part of this organization, and it's only by invitation only. I think we're at 125 that we've allowed into the organization. But I know my competition very well, by first name, as a matter of fact. It's really fun. But they've given me a lot of insight. You had another question, ma'am?
Yeah, we are starting a little business here in Utah, and so we like to brainstorm and talk about ideas with other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you go about doing that with your company?
Okay, quickly, because I know you have to go. She's starting a new business, and she's brainstorming. She wants to brainstorm, and how do you go about branding? Well, first of all, I start with who my demographic is. If it's young, I don't want to make it feel old. If it's established, if I need an established brand, I don't want to feel trendy. I got to know who my demographic is, and then I got to go after them. And that's what's in the first of my mind. And then for us, we've got really talented people, and we sit down and we sketch out 400 or 500 ideas before we even move into the computer, before we finalize those. And that's how we work. But